I never thought I'd discover my wife's secret. 6 years of trust shattered overnight. Messages and lies I couldn't ignore. Confrontations that left me broken and angry. Trying to survive the emotional storm and betrayal. I still remember the moment I first suspected something was off. Honestly, if someone told me a year ago that my wife, the woman I'd trusted with my entire life, could be cheating on me, I would have laughed in their face. But here I am, sitting on my couch at 2 a.m., scrolling through texts that make my stomach turn, trying to process that the person I loved most has been lying to me all along. We've been married for 6 years. By all appearances, we had a normal marriage. Jobs, bills, arguments over trivial stuff, weekend plans, but never anything I would have called catastrophic. We laughed together, traveled a little, and yes, occasionally argued about chores or how she left the sink full of dishes again, but I genuinely thought we were happy. Or at least, I thought I was happy. It started subtly. The little things, the ones you might dismiss if you're not paying attention. She suddenly became obsessed with her phone. Always texting, always smiling at messages, sometimes hiding the screen when I walked in the room. She started staying out later with friends, and became defensive whenever I asked about it. I chalked it up to stress at work or wanting some personal space, because I trusted her. I trusted her blindly. And that trust? It was my biggest mistake. The first truly unsettling sign was one Friday evening. I came home early from work, something I almost never do, and noticed her laptop left open on the kitchen counter. A message preview popped up, and my heart literally froze. I didn't even read the whole thing at first, just enough to see her name, and then, someone else. My mind refused to process it. I grabbed the laptop, hesitated, then opened her browser history. That's when the red flags became impossible to ignore. There were pages, links, conversations, small at first, just subtle flirting, then escalating into something explicit. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the laptop. The surreal thing was that I didn't hear her come home. And there she was, walking into the kitchen with that fake, sweet smile I thought I knew like the back of my hand. "Hey babe, how was your day?" she chirped. My voice cracked. Do you have something you want to tell me?" Her smile faltered slightly, but then she smoothly recovered. "What are you talking about?" I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop across the room, to shake her and demand answers. But I just stood there, paralyzed, heart racing, trying to keep it together long enough to hear her lie to my face. "Nothing," she said finally, brushing past me. "Just stressed at work, I guess. Don't make a big deal out of it." That was the first time I realized how skilled she was at lying. How long had this been going on? Who else knew? And more importantly, how do you even confront someone like that without completely losing yourself? The next week was hell. Every interaction, every laugh, every little affectionate gesture suddenly felt like a betrayal. I started noticing more patterns: late texts, quick phone locks, whispered conversations. One night, I saw her texting someone from the shower. I stood outside, just listening. I shouldn't have, I know that. But I needed to hear it with my own ears. Her voice, playful and intimate, sending messages I never should have imagined. By the weekend, I had gathered enough evidence to confirm my worst fears. The realization hit me like a truck. This wasn't just a crush, or a harmless flirtation. She was actively seeing someone else. And she had been careful, meticulous. I couldn't believe I had missed it. 6 years, and I didn't see it coming. But the worst part? Knowing that, in some twisted way, she might have thought she could keep me in the dark forever. I felt sick, angry, confused, and numb all at once. And as I sit here, writing this, trying to process, I realize that the next step, confronting her, will be one of the hardest things I've ever done. I still remember the moment I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Sitting in silence, scrolling through the messages I'd found, I realized that the longer I waited, the more she would cover her tracks. I had to know, had to confront her, no matter how much it hurt. So I did what I never imagined I would. I waited until she got home from work one Thursday evening, heart pounding like a drum, palms sweating, stomach twisting into knots. She walked in, carrying her usual smirk, like everything was normal. And for a fleeting second, I almost believed it too. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag on the floor. "You're home early again?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. Yeah, we need to talk. Her smile wavered for the briefest moment, just enough to give me a sliver of hope that maybe, somehow, she'd come clean. But then it was gone, replaced by that practiced, fake innocence. About what? I couldn't hold it in any longer. I shoved the laptop in front of her, hands trembling. These messages. What the hell is going on? She froze, staring at the screen. And then, without missing a beat, she launched into a barrage of lies. It's nothing. You're overreacting, she said, voice sharp. I was just talking to a friend. Seriously, calm down. You're imagining things. I wanted to scream. The evidence was right there. I saw it, her name in those messages, the way she typed, the intimate jokes, the flirty emojis. And yet she kept denying it. I pressed harder. No. Don't lie to me. I've seen the texts. I've seen everything. You're cheating on me, aren't you? Her face twisted, eyes widening, then narrowing, then glinting with something I couldn't quite place, anger. Defensiveness? Guilt? Maybe a mix of all three. You don't understand, she snapped. It's not like that. You're blowing this out of proportion. Why are you trying to ruin everything we have? Everything we have? Everything we had. I felt my chest tighten. How could she say that after months of lying? After all the hidden dinners, the late-night messages, the little excuses that suddenly made sense in hindsight. I wanted to grab her, shake her, make her see me, see the pain she was causing. But I didn't. I just stood there, voice barely above a whisper. Why? Why would you do this to me? Her expression softened, just for a moment, but it was cruel, like a calculated act to make me doubt myself. I don't know. I wasn't happy, she said finally. It's not that you did anything wrong. I just needed something else. I laughed. Or maybe it was a sob. Hard to tell. Not happy. 6 years, and all it took was a guy texting you to make you not happy. She looked away, suddenly fragile, suddenly defensive, suddenly, everything at once. The contrast between her steely manipulation and these rare flashes of vulnerability made me feel dizzy. Angry. Betrayed. Heartbroken. We argued for hours, voices rising, accusations flying. I brought up every late text, every suspicious night, every little lie. She deflected, minimized, and at one point even tried to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She had been planning this, rehearsing it, and she didn't even seem to care about how it made me feel. I ended up leaving the apartment that night, walking the streets in the cold, letting tears stream down my face, feeling like my whole world had collapsed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every memory of our marriage, the trips, the jokes, the quiet nights on the couch, felt tainted. The thing that hurt the most wasn't just the cheating. It was the sheer betrayal of trust. The knowledge that someone I thought I knew completely had built a secret life, hidden right in front of me. And the worst part? She acted like she was the victim. Like I was the one overreacting. By the next morning, I knew I had a decision to make. Could I forgive her? Could I rebuild my life with someone who had shattered it so completely? Or was it time to walk away, no matter how much it hurt? I felt trapped between rage and grief, anger and heartbreak, love and betrayal. And somewhere in that chaos, I realized this would define the next chapter of my life, whether I wanted it to or not. The days after that confrontation were hell. I don't even know how else to describe it. Waking up felt like stepping into a nightmare that I couldn't escape. Every little thing reminded me of her, her laugh, her coffee mug in the kitchen, the way she left her jacket on the chair. And now, every single memory felt contaminated, like I had been living in a lie and only just woke up. I tried going to work, tried keeping up appearances, but inside I was unraveling. I'd catch myself staring at my phone, almost hoping for a text from her, and then remembering everything. The messages, the lies, the casual betrayal. My stomach would drop, my hands would shake, and I'd have to excuse myself from meetings just to breathe. I felt trapped inside my own body, like I was a spectator to someone else's life. I didn't talk to anyone at first, not my friends, not my family. How could I explain this? Hey, my wife's been cheating on me, and she's still walking around like nothing happened. It felt humiliating. Embarrassing. Like the world had shifted, and everyone else was moving along while I was stuck in a puddle of shock and grief. At night, I'd replay everything in my head. The way she lied, the way she smiled when I caught her, the words she used to gaslight me. And then there were the tiny moments I hadn't noticed before, little inconsistencies, tiny hints that I'd ignored because I trusted her. It was like peeling back layers of a painting to find it was all cracked underneath. Some nights I'd sit in the dark, phone in hand, scrolling through the messages again, hoping for some explanation that would make sense. But there wasn't one. There was no reason that justified it. Just a pattern of lies, selfishness, and betrayal. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Angry at her, angry at myself for missing the signs, angry at the world for feeling so unfair. I started writing it all down, partly to cope, partly to figure out what I wanted to do. I wrote about the first time I suspected something, the confrontation, the lies, the gaslighting, the tears, the sleepless nights. I wrote about the anger, the confusion, the moments when I wanted to scream or throw something or just curl up in a ball and disappear. And slowly, in that writing, I began to see patterns, not just in her behavior, but in mine too. How much I had ignored, excused, or rationalized. How much I had invested in someone who wasn't investing in me. How much I had trusted blindly, and how costly that trust had been. There were moments of doubt. Could I forgive her? Could we work through this? She had apologized, finally, after the confrontation, saying she was so sorry and made a huge mistake. But the words felt hollow. They didn't undo months of deception. They didn't bring back the trust she had destroyed. Some nights I imagined what it would be like if I walked away. Freedom, maybe, but also grief and loss. The house would be quiet, but empty. Our friends would ask questions I didn't want to answer. I'd have to rebuild my life from scratch, with this scar forever etched into me. Other nights I imagined giving her another chance. Trying therapy, trying to forgive, trying to rebuild. But deep down, a small voice whispered that trust, once shattered, can't be fully repaired. That some things, no matter how much you love someone, can't be undone. I realized I was living in a state of limbo. Suspended between the life I had known and the life I could have, paralyzed by grief and indecision. It was exhausting, and sometimes I wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. But somewhere in all the pain, a tiny spark of clarity emerged. I understood that whatever decision I made next, stay or leave, it had to be for me, not for her. Not to punish her, not to prove something, not to cling to what I thought we had. For me. And that realization, painful as it was, felt like the first step toward reclaiming my life. After weeks of sleepless nights, endless internal debates, and crying in the shower when I thought no one could see me, I finally reached a decision. It wasn't easy. Hell, it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. But I realized something crucial. I couldn't stay in a marriage where trust had been shattered, where love had been used as a cover for betrayal, where my sense of self was being eroded daily. I sat her down one evening, my hands still trembling, my heart still racing, but my mind clearer than it had been in months. I can't do this anymore, I said quietly, yet firmly. I can't keep trying to rebuild something that you broke. I love you, but I can't love someone who doesn't love me the same way, or at least can't be honest about it. Her reaction was predictable. Shock, denial, tears, anger. Please, she whispered, voice breaking. We can work through this. Therapy, counseling, anything. I'll do anything. Don't throw this away. I listened, and for a brief moment, a part of me wanted to believe her. But then I remembered the months of deception, the lies, the stolen intimacy, the nights I spent alone wondering if she was laughing with someone else. I realized that love alone isn't enough to sustain a marriage. Trust is. And once trust is gone, sometimes, it's gone for good. I'm not throwing anything away, I said, I'm choosing my own life, my own peace. I have to. We parted that night. Not with screaming or slamming doors, but with a heavy, painful acknowledgement that what we had was over. She left the apartment with her things, and I stayed behind, alone, surrounded by the remnants of a life I thought would last forever. It hurt like hell. But there was also a strange sense of relief, like finally, for the first time in months, I could breathe. The weeks that followed were strange. Empty, yes, but also liberating. I slept more, ate better, and slowly started reaching out to friends. I started exercising again, picked up old hobbies, and began to rebuild a life that felt real, honest, and mine. Some days were harder than others, some nights, the grief would hit me like a punch in the chest, but I learned to let myself feel it, to process it and not bury it under anger or denial. I also realized something vital: being betrayed doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean you're naive or foolish. It means you trusted someone with your heart, and that's something most people never do. The betrayal was hers, not mine. And accepting that, finally, freed me from carrying the weight of someone else's choices. Looking back now, I see how much I learned from this experience. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, pay attention. Don't ignore the small signs. Self-worth is non-negotiable. Never let someone else's betrayal define how you see yourself. Pain can be transformative. It hurts like hell, but it also teaches you resilience, clarity, and the courage to choose yourself. Closure comes from action. You can't always get explanations or apologies that make sense, but you can make decisions that honor your well-being. So, to anyone going through something similar, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel like the world is ending. But eventually, the pieces start to come together. You'll breathe again. You'll laugh again. You'll trust again. Maybe in someone else, maybe in yourself first. And the person you become after surviving this? Stronger, wiser, and unbreakable in ways you never imagined. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I do know one thing: I survived the betrayal, and I will survive the aftermath. And someday, I hope someone out there reading this will find the courage to do the same.